What makes a game fun? That's a very loaded question, so we're going to try to break it down into simpler parts. The four parts that we cover, casual fun, roleplay fun, social fun, and competitive fun, are by no means the only parts, and some of them may seem to overlap, but it should give you a good idea of what makes certain games fun.
A lot of people prefer playing casual games during their free time or after work. In a casual game, usually there's no loser. It's more about a competition between you and a computer. Angry Birds is the classic example for the casual game. Angry Birds is a video game created by Rovio Entertainment. This series is more focusing on multiple color birds who try to save their eggs from the green color pigs. While this game is inspired by the Crash the Castle, in January 2014 there have been over 2 billion downloads across all platforms, including both regular and special edition. The first game in the series was released in December 2009 for Apple iOS system. Why people like casual games for release their pressure from work and study? Well, one of the reasons is because casual game is extremely same gameplay, like a puzzle game that can be played entirely using one button mouse or cell phone keypad. The casual game requires no long-term time commitment or special skills to play, which means you don't have to be really smart, and you can play it while you are waiting for the bus. After long time work from whole day, I believe most people don't want to spend a long time on solving a hard puzzle. I mean, that's the reason why casual game is easy challenge for everybody. It can effectively create more sense of achievement. That's the reason why casual games have ability to quick research the final stage. While the more achievement you have, the more fun you can find in the casual game, and that's the reason why I think casual game is fun.
Fantasy games take place in imaginary worlds full of magic, monsters, and adventure, much unlike our own. These games are full of amazing places to explore and rich characters to meet and work with. These types of games also have a lot of narrative to them, which is a story that drives the player. There is usually always a main campaign and then lots and lots of side quests to keep the user busy for as long as they want. Also in fantasy games, usually you get to make decisions that will affect your gameplay and the future of the world that you're playing in. In fantasy games, there are also a lot of discovery in them. The player is encouraged to spend a lot of time going off the beaten path and exploring what there is to see. The player may come across dragons, raiders, dungeons, or mountains. But no matter what, there's always more to discover in some of these games. Games such as Witcher and Skyrim reward players for going off of the beaten path by offering side quests that have rewards such as new weapons and possibly even new followers. And finally, there's a lot of expression or self-discovery or creativity in fantasy games. Fantasy games usually allow the player to completely customize their character, from race to class to hairstyle, all the way down to what color the eyeshadow is. The player has complete control over what their character looks like. Through dialogue, the player also has the opportunity to control what their character acts like. Are they mean and brutish, or are they lighthearted and make a joke of everything? The player gets to decide this based on predetermined dialogue options that let your player change how the course of the conversation will go. In fantasy games, you also get to make decisions that will affect how the game progresses. To wrap things up, I love playing fantasy games because you get to play in a fantasy imaginary world. There is a narrative story that drives the player. There's a chance for discovery and exploration of this fantasy world. And there's a lot of room for expression, such as creating your own avatar or shaping how the gameplay works.
There are countless games out there that would never have seen the light without one thing: other people. Think about your most memorable moments you've had in a game, be it tabletop or video game. Was it Solitaire, Skyrim, or Fallout? Although those games are extremely entertaining and by no means bad, they're not the type of games that form long-lasting moments. Games such as GTA 5 Online, FIFA, League of Legends, and really any multiplayer game out there creates these long-lasting memories. I'm going to break the fun that comes from social gaming down into two major parts: competitive and cooperative games. Competition, the more common and early type of social gaming, includes games such as Pong, Hearthstone, and Mortal Kombat. These are all the types of games that allow players to face against another player and compare their skills. In competitive games, there will always be a winner and there will always be a loser. There is something satisfying about not only overcoming an obstacle, but overcoming a human obstacle that was trying to do the same to you. This is why competitive games, especially 1v1 competitive games, are so satisfying and sweet to win and so painful to lose. Competition in games can spawn an entirely different animal of fun that Jared will speak about in a bit. The second type, and my personal favorite, is cooperative gaming. While competitive games are notorious for breaking down friendships, cooperative games build them. Instead of trying to work against and outsmart your opponent, cooperative games push players to work together and overcome a common obstacle. While completely wrecking an opponent is gratifying in itself, there's nothing quite like fighting alongside someone to cooperatively reach victory. Cooperative gameplay can be frustrating at times, but when true synergy shines through, and everyone works together to act as one, friendship and real, genuine fun is formed. Friends are people who take your side even when things get rough. So it makes sense that friendships are forged in times when your friends, or friends-to-be, are literally on your side, whether it be on a football field or in a digital arena. My favorite games blend both cooperative and competitive gameplay. Dark Souls 3, Overwatch, and Smite all have glaring aspects of these. The Dark Souls games pride themselves on being some of the most difficult games out there, especially for people who are new to gaming. That being said, they're no stranger to the competitive and cooperative fun. As a matter of fact, their appearance in the game couldn't be clearer. Competition finds its way into the game through invasions, where players invade others tasked with hindering their progress through the game. Cooperation is essentially the polar opposite, in which the player joins another's world to assist them in fighting off invaders and progressing through the world. Social games are some of the most common and praised games out there. Just look at any major sport and see how long they've been played. People like to test themselves, both against and alongside others for entertainment, and I'm sure they will for a very, very long time.
Of the many different flavors of fun you can experience playing a game, one that is perhaps the hardest for many people to understand is competitiveness. Many people would look onto a video game like Counter-Strike, Smite, League of Legends, or Dota and wonder how a sane human being could possibly enjoy such a difficult and often toxic experience. The fun that comes from competitive play is unique in that it does not stem from entertainment, but rather from rewarding skilled players and from the nature of competitiveness itself. A competitive game isn't fun because it looks pretty, or because it has an engaging story. A competitive game is fun because when you finally manage to pull off that difficult move, you are often rewarded with a pat on the back from an announcer and some points for your team. Humans are competitive animals by nature. At some point, almost everyone will have made a race out of a common daily task, or will have gloated that they got a higher score on the big test than one of their peers. Playing a competitive game allows you to express this desire to be good at something without having to worry about what anyone else is thinking. To many, losing is just part of the game, and they won't feel as bad as if you had just berated them about their subpar performance in real life. The driving forces that constantly bring players back to a competitive game are the promise of gradual improvement and the desire to experience the rush of winning. The more you play a game like Smite, the better you'll get, and the more you'll win. If there's one thing every competitive game has in common, it's that nothing beats the feeling you get when the word victory flashes across your screen.
Thanks for watching. We hope that you thought about how some of these aspects of fun affect your life and why you like games. Just in case you didn't, that's exactly what we're going to ask you to do. Either record and upload a sound recording of yourself talking about what type of fun you like and what are your favorites, or write a 350-word essay on it. I'll see you at class.